Yo, what's going on? Welcome to the Closer to Home podcast, where we talk about all things culture through the lens of being a believer. I'm Chuck.
I'm Rocky. This episode 9.
Now we back in church. That's where we need to be.
Yes, sir.
Shit, talking right. Real right. 12 tribes posted at the gates. Watches on the wall, got that Jasper on the face. Revelation takeaways. This is just the welcome, but you gotta keep the faith to stay. Feeling like Kobe on the breakaway. Like I've been writing rhymes on a paper plane. Waiting on the Lord till he make a way. Why these hooks got him reaching for the skies like Kareem? I'm too different. Different for this world like Kadeem. Too much scripture for this world to try to shackle up my soul. With my back against the wall, I get back up with my bros. See the jackal in the field, I can't tackle this alone. First Adam in the grave, second Adam on the throne.
Yo, you know how when you see somebody doing something that you want to do, or they have something that you want, and it just makes you want what they got or move the way they're moving?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I feel like as Christians, that's something that we have to model it. Like, we have to be representation of Christ, so that when people see how we move, they like, yo, like, I want to move like that. I want to have what he has, do the things that he's doing, so that when they ask us, like, yo, how'd you get like that? How'd you get that? We could say, oh, Jesus. And we implore them to then seek Jesus, right? Which is also a reason why I think so many people don't want to be Christian sometimes, because we do a poor job of representation of Christ. So you'll come to someone and you'll say, seek the kingdom and be righteous. And they're like, yeah, but you're mean. And you're a liar.
Yeah.
You know, you've been stressing and struggling all your life. So why do I want to seek him?
Facts.
I bring this up because there's a story I want to tell you about how I have friends that kind of looked at me and was saying, yo, you know, I want the things that you have, because I've been, you know, striving every day to do my best representation of Christ.
Yeah.
And every time they do, I just say like, oh, it's because of Jesus. It's because of Jesus, because of Jesus. And I had this one friend. A lot of my friends are unsaved because I lived most of my life unsaved.
Right.
And I had this one friend. He was like, yo, I've seen the transition that you've made since high school, college, all the way up to now. Like, the things that you used to struggle with, you don't struggle with no more. I see you got an amazing woman now, and you got the job that you want. And like, I'm trying to make those types of strides in my life, and that type of transformation. Like, what is it? I'm like, yo, it's Jesus. It's Jesus. And he's like, where he would try to do what he got to do to get right with Christ.
Yeah.
Because he wants that type of transformation in his life. But he really wouldn't like pursue it seriously. So every time we would link up, he's like, man, I'm still trying to get this. I'm still trying to get that. Like, how do I do it? I see you have it. How do I get it? And I would just keep pointing them to Christ. Like, bro, you need Jesus to do it. The only reason why I got here is because of Jesus. Then there was this one time where we chilling, we talking. He's like, man, I'm still trying to do better. I'm still trying to get this. I'm still trying to get that. And I still point him to Jesus. Like, yo, you know, these are practical things you can do. Come to church with me, pray, read your word. Like, you need Jesus. Like, he'll be the one to help you get straight. And he was like, Rocky, I'm be honest with you. The reason why you are the way you are is because you got a good woman. I'm flattered. You know,
Truly.
She would appreciate that compliment too. But no, it's not. Not at all, actually. You know, she's planted seeds, she's watered them, but she's had faith in God for the increase, right? And, you know, she's allowed God to use her as a vessel in my life. She's been supportive, she's been motivating, she's been patient with me throughout my walk of salvation, but she didn't change my heart. You know what I'm saying?
God did.
Like, she didn't save me. Like, only God can do that, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, bro, but I just feel like if I get a girl, I won't be in these streets like that no more. I won't be out here, you know, with all these women, and I'll be more disciplined and get to this money, get my bag right. I won't be feeling like lonely and insecure and all these things. Like, if I just get a good woman, like how you got a good woman, like all these things will change. I'm like,
Dang.
that's idolatry. the things that you need to be whole, you don't think that Jesus can do it. You think a woman can.
Word.
So if you're going to put a woman above Jesus, it's idolatry. And he's like, no. Like I love God and I worship God. I don't think. And I think the reason why like the word idolatry kind of, you know, pushed him back is because when you hear idolatry, you think of like Old Testament, you know, building up golden statues and shrines and worshiping it. But like, no, like there's modern day idolatry. You know what I'm saying? You remember that one song? It's like, all I need in this life is sin. Is me and my
girlfriend.
Idolatry. Straight up idolatry. All you need in this life is sin. Is a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Idolatry. You know what I'm saying? And so it really blew him away that I was telling him that. But I'm like, you really have to stop and think about the Old Testament calves and statues and Baal, like all those Old Testament false gods and idols, they still exist in 2024. You just have to be able to see what that looks like. Yeah, bro.
Oh my goodness. Modern day idolatry. Well, idolatry in a whole, I think is such a crazy concept, because just like you're saying, like everybody does have that like that knee-jerk reaction of like, whoa, like I don't got no shrine in my closet of like me worshiping the sun god. I'm not getting down on my knees and praying 6 times a day and touching my forehead to the floor. But it's like, you're not doing that. But it just looks a little different. Yeah. It looks a little different. Man, I do believe, just like you were saying, so like what it sounded like your homie was doing was basically putting the same worth that he should have been putting in God into another person, which was a woman.
Yes. And he's putting the woman in, he's putting his functional trust in something other than God. And that is idolatry. Because when you put your functional trust in something other than God, you're also saying like, this other person or this other thing will be faithful to me. It will love me. This thing is good. And the only thing that can consistently be faithful to you and love you and is consistently good is God.
Yeah.
So that's why it's idolatry. And yes, you're not putting your forehead to the ground and worshiping a big golden statue or golden calf or whatever the case may be. But even if you go back and you read why they were doing it, and you look at if you've ever done that today, then that's your golden calf.
Yeah.
Because if you read back in Exodus, the only reason why they built the golden calf was because Moses went up on a mountain and they're waiting for him to come down so that they can hear from God. So now they're just getting impatient. Like, yo, where's God? Like, what's God telling us to do? Where do we go? And because they're not getting a response, they're like, Aaron, create us a God. Someone should have had a
knee-jerk reaction at
right
that time.
Like, create.
Dude, like, is that
since when do we create creators? But
and wait. When do we create creators? Because that's crazy. Because that right there is why God is so great. Because God is greater than all of our idols.
Yes.
Because he's uncreated life,
and nothing else is like, everything has a beginning.
Exactly.
So that right there should make everyone like stop. Like, wait, how are you asking Aaron to create something, create a God like that? But hey, we weren't there, so we don't know.
Yeah,
but they say, create us a God. So Aaron says, yo, give me all your jewelry, your rings, your earrings, your necklaces. And he creates a golden calf. The reason why the golden calf was created was because y'all were impatient for God's word, for God's answer. And like in 2024, no one can sit there and say like, I've never been impatient waiting for God, that I didn't find my own way. Yeah. Right? How many times have you seen somebody like waiting for God to tell them where to go career-wise, what job to take, or something along those lines? And because like I'm struggling financially and I haven't heard from God, I'm just going to go gamble and get a quick fix. I'm just going to go sell drugs, get a quick fix. Yeah. You know, or I'm waiting for God to tell me where my husband is and where my wife is because I'm ready to get married, but God hasn't said nothing yet. So I'm going to just go and hit up that one past person I was with. I'm going to go text my ex. I'm going to go hit the club and grab the first thing walking. Right? That's your golden calf.
Word. I think it's real important that we kind of freeze frame this picture for a second and kind of just like stay where we are, because it's like we have what this golden calf looks like. So that's what idolatry looked like back in the day, right? Old Testament time. And now you just touched on a few ways of what it can look like today.
Yeah.
And it's just like, again, out of everyone's impatience, do desperate things. And a lot of times in your desperate mind, you're not doing the thing it is that you should be doing. Absolutely. And so I think that like each and every one of those things that you like just named off, I think you said them kind of fast, but like I feel like they're things that all of us can relate to. You know, like there's not one person who's just like, oh no, like I've never really, you know what I'm saying, I've never really had any idols in my life. Yeah. I've never really kind of just like bowed down to anything. But it's just like, no, like you have to take a second and kind of bring it all the way back and think, what kind of things have you been impatient about? Just like you were saying, like impatient about a spouse. Okay, so you going and, you know what I'm saying, hitting up different like dating apps. You're going out places and, you know what I'm saying, like 2 or 3 nightclubs at a time, or 2 or 3 bars at a time, trying to like find different people. Like, oh, you know, going to events that you normally wouldn't go to or have no business being at, when whole time you need to be at the crib working on your craft. And, you know what I'm saying, God got something set up for you to be able to like, yo, like, if you're sitting in the crib and continuously working to do whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing, as opposed to going out and trying to find something, and really just like create this whole like this convoluted blessing yourself, you know what I'm saying, then ultimately you miss that thing, you know what I'm saying. But if you're staying in there and you're putting the work in and you do what it is that he's been calling you to do, then you step into like his blessing. And so also we see that with Ishmael, you know what I'm saying. It's like so if you take the example, right, of Isaac, right, when they want this child, right, they're oh
my God, I know where you're going with this.
Who are the 2 names? I'll just draw the blank.
Who are the women?
Yes.
Sarah and Hagar.
Sarah and Hagar. Okay, yeah. So you have Sarah, right, who's barren, and God is telling her like, yo, look, you're gonna have a baby, right? But she doesn't believe him. But again, God never lies. He fulfills all of his promises, and literally he always comes through. Yeah. And so because he didn't come in the time that she wanted him to, she said, okay, I know what to do. In her impatience, she said, here's how we're going to get this baby. Here's how we're going to get this blessing. Go into my servant Hagar, go into your servant Hagar, you know what I'm saying? Give her a kid, and boom. And go ahead.
Because I can't believe you went there. Because healthy desires can become idolatry. Wanting a child's not bad. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And right when you said that, I'm thinking like of times that I may have done idolatry not knowing. Right. And I know for me, like a healthy desire that I've had is like the perfect life. I want to be making this much money by this age, having this house, having this car, having this wife, having these amount of kids. And there's times where God's like, nope, I need you to go steward this. I need you to go start that ministry. I need you to go help out this family. I need you to take that money, and instead of saving it or investing it, I need you to go give it to this person or spend it here. And I'm like, but if I do that, I'm not on time with the perfect life that I envisioned for myself. Right. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with you having a vision of a good life, of having, you know, a healthy marriage and healthy children and being successful. But when you put that over God's will and God's promises, now it's idolatry. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So now I find myself literally stepping over souls and being like, no, I'm going to make this life happen. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, that's your Ishmael now. You know what I'm saying? Because now the life that you got by forcing it, you got an Ishmael. If you would have just moved on my time and you'd have done the things that I told you to do, you would have got your Isaac life. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So now, like, that's crazy. Like, I never even looked at the child. The wanting of a child was idolatry, was a golden calf. Yeah.
It's real easy to worship these things, right? It's real easy to worship this golden calf. and everybody's golden calf looks different from time to time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what it looks like to worship something is those things that you give your time, your talent, and your treasures to. You know what I'm saying? It's those things where you're sowing all of your money at. Where's all your bread going? Just like you were saying, like, yo, I need some bread real quick. Instead of, working and doing your thing, you like, yo, I need a quick buck. Betting. It's just like, okay, your treasure's there. Your time, you know what I'm saying? You spending all your time doing what? You know what I'm saying? You're wasting all of your talent. You're volunteering here every single weekend, It's like, but is that where your time is best used? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like those are the spaces just like you were saying, there are certain things that like aren't inherently like evil or aren't inherently bad or aren't inherently a sin, but the desire that we have is pure, but you can still worship the right God the wrong way. Like with the golden calf, like when they came down before Moses came down off of the mountain, what they wanted to do was worship God.
Yeah.
That's what they wanted to do.
Let me read this joint to you real quick, because what you just said is, I was gonna save this for later, but you touched on it perfectly.
All right.
This was from a theologian when I was doing my research on idolatry. He said, "A good thing becomes an idol when we treat it in a way that fails to honor its giver." And that to me is so crazy, because just like the golden calf, it was a gift that they received that created the golden calf in the first place. Because Aaron said, "Give me your necklaces, give me your earrings, give me your rings." And he used those to create the calf. They got all of that jewelry as a gift from God while in Egypt. So he gave you guys a gift, and instead of you guys treating that gift as a gift that God gave you, you turned it into an idol. So I think that John is crazy. And it's crazy because you turned it into a god, an idol that don't even know you, don't even know what you've been through. You see that in modern day, because you see us worshiping people, celebrities, money, things that don't know you or care about you in any way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? And yet we still worship it. And we worship it because we're created to worship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you read Exodus 24, verse 4 and 5, like it says, like, don't worship false idols and don't become one. It doesn't say if you worship, don't worship false idols. It's saying when you do it, because we're created to do it, because God created us to worship him. So we're going to worship. He's just warning us, like, when you do it, make sure it's to me, because I am your God. I'm the only God. Yeah. I'm the uncreated one. You see what I'm saying? So it baffles me when I read, them in the Bible cutting themselves to Baal, asking for a response. Like, Baal can't respond because he don't know y'all.
Facts.
He don't even know how much. He don't know how much that hurt. Y'all bleeding. He don't even know. You know what I'm saying? The golden calf. He doesn't see all that time y'all were in bondage and slavery in Egypt. That calf don't know nothing. So y'all are literally worshiping idols that don't know and care about y'all, instead of the one God that knows you before you knew yourself. You see what I'm saying?
That's how they be with Beyonce. That's how they be with Juice. All of my youngest XXX and Juice at the job.
I saw Beyonce made a post on her Instagram, because she just came out like a perfume or something like that. So she's just like showing off her perfume, like, oh, I made this, it smells like this, and da-da-da-da, just unboxing her perfume. The comments are like, oh my God, she's talking. Like, I never heard her. No, I'm dead serious. Like, they're like, I haven't heard her voice in so long. It's angelic. Like, they are baffled at who, like, literally, like, oh my gosh, it's Beyonce. I saw, Shannon Sharp?
Yeah.
Shannon Sharp talked about when he first met Michael Jordan. He said that he was on an elevator and the elevator doors opened up. He said he saw nothing but light. Say he saw nothing but light. He said it was Michael Jordan and Michael Jordan's first wife. And he was like, he looked at him. He said, hey, I'm Shannon Sharp. Michael Jordan said, oh, I know you. I was just in the casino with your mom. He's like, you and your brother are really good at football. He said, I swore Michael Jordan was levitating. I thought I saw a mythological creature.
He did.
Listen, we can look it up.
Oh.
This is his exact words as to what it was like to meet Michael Jordan. I watched the video. Well, I was watching TV during the All-Star break, 2022. It was the 75-year anniversary for basketball. So they did the top 75 players in NBA history. Michael Jordan was one. And nobody expected Michael Jordan to actually show up because he don't really come out places. Mm-hmm. When he showed up, I thought the volume on my TV turned up. It was the most insane thing ever, the way the arena erupted. And even like the players that were there were just like, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? And worship, all worship is, it's your deepest affection and adoration for something or someone. Right? So it's like when you see these people that get around certain celebrities and you're just like, oh my gosh, like that's your deepest affection and adoration for this person. Like you really put this person on such a high degree and pedestal that you can't even fathom the fact that you're in their presence. So when you see these people get around these celebrities and they're all like, oh my gosh, like that's worshiping them because you have that deep affection and adoration for this person. You're just baffled at the fact that you're even in their presence. Like you just can't even fathom it. You know, you saw like Michael Jackson when he just stood there and someone cried and fainted. Yeah. You know, that's like that famous video, like just cried and fainted because you just can't even fathom because you're created to worship, you know, which is funny to me that you'll hear these people that are atheists say like, if God is real, then why don't he just show me? Why don't he just show himself, reveal himself? If we're fainting over humans, what do you think you're gonna do in the presence of glory? You know what I'm saying? Like this is literally a human being. You're talking about someone who has a fiery throne that reigns over heaven and earth. Oh my gosh! Reveal yourself to me.
And then you wait. So you be seeing how they be talking about the angels in the Bible too, right? They be having like 6 sets of wings, 12 eyes.
They say don't be afraid every time.
Yeah, word. That is the intro. They come down and doing like,
like don't be
not afraid.
Yeah, because like, y'all wouldn't be able to stand in his presence and take it like he's Jesus. Look at how people were responding to him, like just trying to touch him. People building things to kind of get to him. Like Jesus was getting the worship that was deserving because these people that are being worshipped, these celebrities, they don't care about you. Like they don't care about you. I showed you the video earlier where little kids running up to Michael Jordan like, oh my gosh, you're the GOAT, Michael Jordan, I love you, da, da, da. And he pretends like you don't exist. Fact. You know, you can die that day. He's not losing sleep. But when it comes to worshiping Jesus, it's like, and this is someone that doesn't I'm just know you. I'm a real laid-back kind of guy.
I don't really get.
You'll give this lukewarm worship to Jesus, and he knows you, loves you, on your head. Everything, loves you, and he went out in the saddest way for you. You know what I'm saying? He went out in a way that nobody's willing to do for nobody. But he don't get that type of worship, and that's so crazy to me. You know what I'm saying? Have you seen people say, it's like Christian content creators. They'll go around to people in public and they'll say, if you could ask Jesus one question, what would you ask him? Have you seen those videos? Mm-hmm. I get so frustrated when I hear it because people will say like, oh, I'd ask them like, how's my grandmom doing? And will I be successful? And will I be? And I'm like, I don't think y'all know who they're talking about. I don't think you understand who you'd be in the presence of. You know, like just imagine if you were just walking down the street and a car drove by and rolled the window down and pointed a gun at you and shot, and someone dove in front of it, took the bullet and died. And then I ask you like, yo, if you could say one thing to that person, what would you say? You're not going to say, oh, I'd have a question. Like, no, there would be gratitude. I'd say, thank you for saving my life. You know, so it's like, what's that one question that I would ask Jesus? I would fall to my knees and say, you didn't just save my moral life, but you gave me an eternity of paradise that's undeserving. There's nothing to ask. You know, like what like I'm telling you, like this gets to me because it's like y'all don't know who he is. Y'all really don't know who he is, and that's why y'all can ask these stupid questions and get these stupid responses because people don't know who he is. It's just like these false gods in the Bible. Like when people are literally cutting themselves for a response from Baal. That's how y'all look in the audience at a concert asking for a response from Beyonce, and you're not getting one. He doesn't care. She doesn't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll never get it. You'll never get that response. Like, the only one that will respond to you is Jesus. He's the only God. And that's why he tells you, don't worship nobody else. Like, that's what it is. If you read Isaiah 44:9, it says, how foolish are those who manufacture idols. These prized objects are really worthless. The people who worship idols don't know this, so they are all put to shame. Who but a fool would make his own God an idol that cannot help him one bit? Like, y'all are literally worshiping gods, worshiping false idols that cannot help you one bit, and you look like a fool for it.
Oh my gosh.
That's how I look at people who are like worshiping celebrities, people who are building these crazy altars, people who have the rocks and all these things. It can't help you at all. Like, if you have a certain issue with yourself, if you're struggling with a certain thing, they can't help you. They don't care. They'll never measure up to God. And like you said, they're created. You can't worship something that's created. They have a beginning and they're going to have an end.
And my thing is, I like to deal in a practical. I'll be thinking like, okay, so like in a sense of like our everyday living, like where does this come? What kind of things hold us back? What does it look like? And I remember fasting a few months ago. I was fasting, and it was like a 6 to 6 joint. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember right when I say 6 to 6 at 6 p.m. From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I didn't eat.
Yeah.
And so basically it was like eating like when the sun was down.
Yeah.
And so when 6 p.m. 8 is when I like would break my fast. And I remember, I forget where I was at. I think I was out maybe like across the street from like my crib or whatever. And I hadn't like made like dinner yet, nothing like that. But I was like, all right, it's time to break fast. Like, I'm hungry. And I had these Cheez-Its. And I was like, damn, I'm definitely trying to eat these Cheez-Its for real. So I scarfed these joints down at 6:04 or something like that. Eat all these joints. I'm like, oh my God, that was so good. That was so good. And then like 3 minutes later, I'm like, dang, bro, like, I'm hungry. And I was just like, dang. And like, I kind of just felt like God like hold a mirror to me in a moment. He's just like, yo, like, that's what you look like in life. Like, you be so eager to, once you have the blessing to go like do something, you just do it. And it's like, yo, like, there's an opportunity for you to actually like go home, prepare a meal, eat, and be fulfilled by something. But you would rather, because there's something right in front of you and you have direct access to it, just take it and get the immediate pleasure. And it's that instant gratification. And it was like, yo, like for those 3, 4, 5 minutes it took me to eat, this little bag of chips, it was cool because I was like, oh, like I'm satisfied. But it was like that joint literally was food. Like, it didn't last at all. And I feel like it's like inside of those little moments where God can really hold a mirror to us and like, yo, like shake us a little bit, like, yo, I'm trying to tell you that this is way bigger than what you think it is. So I want to draw an example back to like when I was an undergrad, right? A whole group of like all of the homies that used to be in 95A with us. Anytime somebody like went through like something like crazy, or we all like wanted to like get together because like somebody like something like bad happened, we were like, yo, like everybody would grab like ice cream. Like, we'll go like the 7-Eleven up the road or whatever, grab like ice cream and make like root beer floats, or grab like the Oreo cookie jones, whatever. So like it became a thing. Like anytime somebody was like, yo, like something bad happened, like, all right, you failed your final, you failed a midterm, something like crazy, grab that joint. And not that it fixed anything, but it just made things a little less, worse than it was, and allowed us to get through like the night and get through the day, you know what I'm saying? Open the convo. And it was a cool joint. But then it started to be like, God started showing like, yo, like just like how when you start to have a bad day, you start to crave like, dang, you know what? You know what I need right now? Some ice cream. You know what I need? A root beer float. And it's just like, yo, not that, because again, like eating the ice cream and all of that is innocent and it's simple, but it's like, yo, how many times do you have little quick fixes inside of your life that instead of leaning on Christ, you rely on other things to get you through a bad time, right? So it's just like, yo, instead of studying harder for whatever like tests or things that you got, you're like, yo, I'm gonna just spark to ease my anxiety. Yo, just to like take a little bit of the edge off, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, yo, now instead of leaning on Christ and asking God and talking to God, you're replacing this joint with something that, again, wasn't inherently bad in itself, but now is you starting to lean on it. You know what I'm saying? And you're starting to idolize it. You're putting this joint in replacement. It's like only God should be able to be the thing that you lean on to get you through the next day. It shouldn't be, yo, I'm going to just put my headphones on and just play this whole album all the way through. It's like, nah, not even the music.
Literally. You know what I love about what you're saying too is that in these moments, God's telling you, like, yo, you're doing this, and I could have had more for you if you would have just waited, or if you would have just been obedient, or if you would have just did this. Like, this is an idol. Like, he's asking for us to worship him, and for him to be the only idol in our lives, because he's the only one that can really help us live right. He's the only one that can really make a crooked path straight. So it's so crazy that you'll have people that will decide to put other things above God, but it's like those things that you put above God, when your path turns crooked, it's not going to straighten you out. You know, it doesn't matter. Like, you're gonna have to pretty much be the God of the God that you just created to have that God help you out. Because if you don't do nothing, that God won't, you know, it's created. You created it. So it's so important to realize, like, we have to only worship one God and have one idol, which is God, because he's literally the only one that can prosper you in life. You know what I'm saying? Which also makes him the only one deserving of the worship that you see us giving other people. Because, like I said, no one else cares.
Facts.
Nobody else cares. So to even think about the fact that, you know, we worship people and things that don't care about us, don't talk to us, nothing like that. Like, to know that there's someone that's way more, you know, powerful, way more impactful, way more popular. Like, even to this day, statistically, the most loved person to ever walk this earth in human history is Jesus. He's rated 1, and then I think Michael Jackson is 2. So, like, that's
got number 1 seller too.
Oh my God. No, literally though, like, he's the most popular person ever. So if you were to ever be so starstruck in front of somebody, why would it not be literally the most popular person in human history? And to even know that the person who is the most popular in human history is the type of person that would respond. It's the type of person that would care. It's the type of person that would die for you. You know, when I seen those videos of children getting ignored, I had grace for the celebrities. Like, y'all are humans. Y'all not gonna speak to every single child.
It probably happened to you all the time.
Yeah, like, I get it, because you're human. But there's someone that would. There's someone that sat with the kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's someone that, like, for every child, like, if you wanna worship an idol and want a response every time and want to feel loved and want to feel comforted, like all that, there's someone that would do it. You're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for shame if you're gonna put that type of responsibility and expectation on a human like that. So
that's so good, because I feel like when it all comes down to it, it's like, yo, like, he's gonna respond, but like, ask him. Like, I feel like if you start to think like, okay, like, well, is this ice cream my idol, Chuck? Like, is this, you know what I'm saying, is me sparking the gas really my idol? Is sex really an idol? Like, okay, well, talk to God. Ask him about it. Like, yo, like, really, like, convict me if this is really what, you know what I'm saying, something that you feel as though it's become an idol to me. But it's like, he'll talk. You know what I'm saying? You will get a response. You will know. And then I believe it's like, well, and if so, if this thing just, maybe you start to think like, okay, like, maybe all of this just isn't really a big idea, isn't a big a deal as we're making it right now. Let's just go back to my favorite book and let's just see what it says. And if you go look at the second commandment, I'm not even gonna tell anybody what it is, but just go look at the second commandment, because you should be opening this book anyway. You shouldn't even be taking everything it is that we say as law. You should be opening this book up and reading it for yourself. But if you look at that joint in there, I think it speaks solely to everything it is that we're talking about.
Not only that, but if we even go back to the good old calf, when Moses came down from that mountain and he saw that calf, he broke those 10 commandments. He threw those tablets and snapped them. That was the rage he had at seeing a false idol, of seeing a false god. And he broke the calf and went off. Like, that's the type of reverence you have to have for God, that even if you were to see a false idol, whether it's yours or someone else's, your spirit should be like, oh, nah. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't come to God and say, God, like, is my money an idol? Is sex an idol? Is this? And then, like, and God tells you, like, yes. And you're like, oh, so I got to give it up. Like, that's going to speak to the reverence you have for the one idol that you should have. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because you didn't, like, Moses didn't come down there and be like, why y'all do that? Dang, like, now we got to, like, he really got pissed.
Right.
Like, that's how you're supposed to respond to this, because you have to understand exactly who God is and the importance of having other idols. It will literally lead you astray, lead you away from
it's
him.
Relationship, bro, because you got, like, he really came down to, like, how could y'all? Like, how could you? And I remember being a youngin', bro, literally in, like, 5th grade, and having a conversation with at the lunch table, and it was a group of dudes and a group of girls, and it was all, like, mixed together. And they were basically saying, like, yo, how come men can't be faithful to girls, but y'all always faithful, like, to your friends? And I remember being in this conversation, us, like, being
Wait,
like,
what grade?
5th grade, bro. Literally, we
were adults. Like, our generation was adults,
bro. Yeah, we were a lot of knuckleheads too. We was doing stuff way before we should have.
Word.
But yeah, so literally the guys are like, yo, because like I rock with my homies, like, you know what I'm saying, like, we play Xbox together, we da-da-da-da. But they were saying they valued the relationship like way more.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, like you when you build a relationship with somebody, like, you know what I'm saying, like, you don't want, that's why you see it as like dudes who have friends, like, you never, like, in an argument with your friends, like, you know, say anything crazy, say anything hurtful, well, like, your mother this, like, get disrespectful. But why is it that you can find different ways to slight your significant other? How can you find different ways to kind of, like, be disrespectful in those ways? And it's like, yo, like, you can tell that sometimes, and it comes back to, like, the sex conversation, when you use sex as a pacifier to whatever problems it is that you was having, instead of going through and talking about those things and building a relationship and talking through those things, you put the pacifier in your mouth and y'all kind of just figure it out along the way. Yeah. Whereas between men, it's like, nah, we got to talk through whatever little funk we just got in. Like, this is a knot, and either we going to rumble about it or we going to talk through it, but we can't move on without it being a thing. And that's what it is. It's like, Moses is like, yo, I have a relationship, yo. Like, this is relationship. And I can't believe you would do this. You know what I'm saying? I can't believe y'all would do this. How could you, literally?
Knowing what he just did. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, knowing what he just did. Like, this is Moses who, like, God called me when I was unqualified. You know, I told him, like, yo, I'm just a stutterer, and he's like, no. And he ended up making me lead y'all out of here. Like, did y'all forget that? Did y'all forget this whole sea splitting and walking through it? Did y'all forget the promises, like, all of these things? So it was like, the knowing who God is so important, because that's really the difference between Moses and those Israelites. Y'all completely forgot who he is and what he's done.
Yeah.
And it was so easy for y'all to move on. Like, he can't just move on like that. He can't just worship another God. Like, the relationship that he built was based off of how God has been with him and revealed himself to him and has loved him and provided for him and all those things. I can't just ignore that and forget that and move on to something else. Like, sometimes we got to remind ourselves when we make an idol out of something else, and it's hard to let go of that idol or whatever case may be, we got to remind ourselves, like, just who got us to where we're at. Just where we got, because, again, everything under the sun and the sun is created. So sometimes even the idol that we made, you got to remind yourself who created it.
Yeah.
And then remind yourself, like, the things that God has really done in your life is bring you through the things he brought you through. And that should be enough to make you break tablets. That's how I feel.
Goodness.
At the end of the day, I think that idolatry, the root issue of idolatry is it's a heart problem. Like that's what it stems from. Like you have a heart problem where you're having affection and love and trust in something other than God. And we all know that the only thing that can change your heart is God. Only God can change the heart of man. So this is a tough conversation for anybody, because we all have to heart check ourselves and be like, yo, are we loving something or worshiping something or idolizing something more than God? And after doing that heart check, and you might realize, like, I do have idols or I don't. Hopefully you don't. But even if you do, the solution is to literally rely on the one who can soften your heart, who can change your heart, who can really heal you, so that you don't have any false idols and you can really be content with worshiping the one God who's deserving of being an idol and deserving of that worship. Because at the end of the day, God's not going to tell you worship me and not be deserving of it and not take a responsibility of making it worth your while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no. And this is for you. Whatever it is that you're thinking, is this an idol? Yes, it's that. It's exactly what you're thinking about.
That's conviction. But if you're thinking it, that means your soil's rich. So again, as always, make sure y'all soil rich.
That's honesty. Foundation still strong as armor swings. You tell me God ain't real but can't promise me. Yeah, I remember dying in the pit. Now I'm walking on the water like I'm Simon out the ship. Yeah.